What if Deku was a firebender? Chapter 5. Deku's eyes shot open, and he sat up in his hospital bed. "Mum," said Deku. Deku looked around, but didn't see anyone. "What is going on?" "I was fighting Todoroki. When did I get here?" asked Deku. Deku closed his eyes, but flashes of blue flames and searing pain shot through his mind. "Did Mum attack me again?" asked Deku to himself. Deku flashed back again, remembering looking down at his hands covered in roaring blue flames. Deku sat in his bed, looking at his hands in shock. "I'm strong, like her," said Deku. Part of Deku was almost happy with this, but the darkness quickly snuffed out that flame of hope. "I'm like her. I'm a monster," said Deku. "No, you aren't," said Bakugo. As Deku said that, Bakugo walked in and pulled back the curtain around Deku's bed. "You aren't a monster," said Bakugo. "How do you know? What if I hurt someone in the future?" asked Deku. "You won't. You're not a psychopath like her," said Bakugo. Deku lowered his head. "What happened to the sports festival?" asked Deku. "Oh, I won. I took Todoroki out in the finals," said Bakugo. Good job, man," said Deku. The next day, Deku was sat in class when Aizawa walked in and began explaining about the internship program. "You can choose where to go from the offers you received," said Aizawa. Aizawa began handing out the lists, but didn't give one to Deku. Sir, I didn't get one," asked Deku. Step outside for a moment, Midoriya," said Aizawa. Deku was confused, but did what he was told. "Choose well, everyone, because these choices will help shape your future," said Aizawa. Aizawa finished, then followed Deku out. "Come with me," said Aizawa. Aizawa walked off, and Deku quickly followed. After a couple of minutes, they walked into Nezu's office. "Please, come in," said Nezu. Deku sat down in the chair opposite Nezu. "What's going on, sir? Am I in trouble because of the sports festival?" asked Deku. Nezu put his tiny paws together. "No, you aren't in trouble, but..." Nezu paused for a moment. "We can't let you go on the internships," said Nezu. Deku's eyes went wide. It's because I lost control, isn't it?" asked Deku. "It is. When you lost control at the sports festival, even Endeavor couldn't stop you. What could happen if you lost control in a populated area?" asked Nezu. "People could die," said Deku. "Instead of the internships, I want you to spend the week training here. You need to figure out what kind of mental manipulation you've been subjected to so we can reverse it. Your quirk is deeply tied to your emotional state, so I recommend some sort of meditation. What about your family? You know about your mother, but is there anyone else who can help?" asked Nezu. "They're all dead or in prison," said Deku. Aizawa and Nezu looked at Deku in shock. "My grandfather, Ozai, was the right hand of a powerful criminal leader, and he was arrested by All Might a few months after my birth. My uncle Zuko was a hero, but my mother killed him 7 years ago. She used to say that it was because he betrayed our family. I had a great uncle as well, but he died as well. Oh, and my dad, who my mum apparently killed after I was born because she was disappointed with how weak I was," said Deku. The two teachers were shocked. "What about your grandmother's side of the family?" asked Nezu. "All dead. Ozai and Azula killed them all," said Deku. Nezu and Aizawa felt the crushing weight on Deku's shoulders. If it wasn't for Bakugo's family, who knows what would have happened to him? "Your dad's family?" asked Nezu. "I'm not sure. I've never actually heard anything from them, but knowing my mother, they're long dead. She isn't one for half measures," said Deku. Deku ran his hand over the brand on his chest, feeling his heart sink into his stomach. Aizawa put his hand on Deku's shoulder and spoke up. "I'm very sorry, young man. During your training, if there's anything you need, like robots to smash or teachers to spar with, just ask," said Aizawa. Deku nodded. "Thank you for being so honest. You can go back to your dorm now," said Nezu. Deku bowed, leaving the room. The next day, everyone was heading off to internships. After a long train ride, Bakugo knocked at Gran Torino's door. Immediately, the old man shot through the door, kicking Bakugo in the stomach, knocking him down the stairs and onto the street. "So you're Toshi's successor?" asked the old man. Bakugo's hand smoked as he gritted his teeth in rage. "Screw you, you old geezer," said Bakugo. Bakugo shot towards Gran Torino, using all of his power, but the old man was too fast. A few moments later, Bakugo was lying on the sofa, beaten to a pulp. "How can he be so strong?" asked Bakugo. I'm not that strong. You're just weak," said Gran Torino. Bakugo blasted towards the old man again, but Gran Torino kicked him back onto the sofa. "I know your type. You want to be the best, because that's what's expected of you. And it's what you have known your whole life. You have an intense superiority complex, but also a crippling inferiority complex. Let me guess, the fact that some old guy's beating you senseless is tearing you apart inside," asked Gran Torino. Bakugo didn't reply and looked away from Gran Torino. "Like I thought. This is why I immediately engaged you in a fight. I knew that you would only listen to me if I made sure you knew who was in charge," said Gran Torino. "Screw you," said Bakugo. Bakugo tried to blast Gran Torino. The old man slipped past him and buried his head in the ground. "Shut up and stand to attention. I will mould you into the greatest user of One for All ever," said Gran Torino. Bakugo staggered to his feet, looking down at the tiny old man. "Man, I'm glad I chose this guy," thought Bakugo. Far away, All Might was sat in his office thinking. "I'm sorry, young Bakugo, but you're in for hell," said All Might. All Might flashed back to his brutal training with Gran Torino and shivered. Outside his window, he could see flashes of orange flames as Deku trained. "Damn it, why can't I use blue flames again?" asked Deku to himself. Deku blasted apart a robot that was in front of him and fell to the floor. "I should be able to do it. I should be strong again," said Deku. A single tear rolled down Deku's face, but it quickly evaporated from the intense heat Deku was putting out. Deku closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "What caused it last time?" thought Deku to himself. Deku thought back to when he was facing Todoroki. "I was frozen in ice and was defenseless. The entire arena thought this fight was over," said Deku. A chill went up Deku's spine and he felt fingers wrap around his throat. "They thought you were weak, Izuku," said Azula. Deku's eyes snapped open. He frantically looked around him but couldn't see anyone. "It must have been in my head," said Deku. Deku's eyes went wide when he saw the building in front of him engulfed in blue flames. "Was that me?" asked Deku. Whilst Deku was figuring out his head, some more robots ran out and put out the flames. Deku sat back down and closed his eyes again. "I can do this. I just need to keep going." Deku flashed back to the sports festival. He was surrounded with ice and completely powerless. "They think you're weak, Izuku. You should just give up," said Azula again. Deku shook his head, trying to focus. "Shut up," said Deku. Deku had heard Midnight counting down for his elimination and could feel the tornado of emotions in his heart. Sadness, vulnerability, self-loathing, but mostly rage. Rage at Azula for all the horrible things she'd done to him and others. Rage against Endeavor for comparing him to her. And rage at himself for being so weak. "I should be stronger. I need to put her down for good," said Deku. "Why do you think it's your responsibility?" A voice Deku didn't recognize cut through the darkness, filling his head. Deku opened his eyes, turning around, seeing an old man looking over at him. Deku immediately got into a stance and gathered a fireball in his hand. "Who are you? And how did you get past the security?" said Deku. "Well, I'm not surprised you don't remember me. It was only a few times when you were very young. And as for security, well, I'm good with electricity," said the old man. "Give me a name right now, or I'll call All Might to come drag you to Tartarus prison," said Deku. The old man sat down, pulling out a small kettle and 2 cups out of his bag. "Sit with me, Izuku," said the old man. How do you know my name?" asked Deku. The flame in Deku's hand grew with power. "Answer me right now," said Deku. "Are you really going to threaten me?" asked the old man. "You are an intruder. I should take you down and drag you to All Might," said Deku. "You're going to do all that with that stance?" said the old man. Before Deku could react, the old man jumped to his feet and slipped a foot behind Deku, pushing him to the ground. Without holding back, Deku unleashed the full force of his fire power at the old man, but instead of blowing the old man away, Deku saw a wrinkled hand reach through the flames and grab him by the collar. "No, Izuku! Your flame comes from the breath. Breathing is the source of strength in your body. You should not pervert it with rage," said the old man. The old man helped Deku to his feet, who was very confused. "Just tell me who you are," said Deku. The old man turned, walking back to his tea set. Once he was comfortable, he gestured for Deku to join him. Reluctantly, the young hero sat down. "My name is Iroh," said Iroh. Deku's eyes went wide. "Mom said you were dead," said Deku. "That is the point of faking one's death," said Iroh. "Why did you fake your death?" asked Deku. "When you have the king of the underworld and his greatest assassin after you, it is best to go into hiding," said Iroh. Iroh poured Deku some tea and took a deep breath. "Me and my brother Ozai were the right hands of a villain named All for One. He was incredibly strong thanks to his quirk, which allowed him to steal the quirks of others. I am older than my brother, so he was always trying to prove himself stronger than me, but he could never beat me. Then he decided that if he couldn't beat me, he would ensure that his children were stronger than any other fire user. Your uncle Zuko was strong, but nothing compared to your mother Azula. She had the most potential out of anyone I'd ever seen," said Iroh. Iroh lowered his head, sadness covering his face. "She was so strong, but when she was young she was kind. But my brother wanted someone that All for One could appreciate as a second in command. She needed to be brutal and remorseless. Finally, one day the young kind girl I had known was dead, and in her place was a cold-hearted psychopath that you know," said Iroh. Deku gulped, remembering his mother's cackling laughter. "I'm sorry, Izuku. That it is my fault that you've been hurt so much. If I had stopped my brother when I had the chance, I could have saved both of you. Sadly, at the time I wasn't the type of person to do good. Like I said, I was the right hand of the most powerful villain of the time. I was the dragon of the underworld. But that has all changed when my son Luten died. He was only a few years older than you are now," said Iroh. "What happened to him?" asked Deku. A tear rolled down Iroh's face. "There was a gang war between our faction and a neighbouring group. We quickly crushed them, but we suffered losses. I should have done more recon, but I was overconfident. I sent my son into a trap because of my own hubris. I returned to the base, and do you know what the boss said? He called my son a weakling for dying so easily. I had given everything to that man, but he didn't care. It was then I knew I had to leave, but I wouldn't go alone. Because of your mother's immense potential, my brother didn't care about his son Zuko, and he had become somewhat of a second son to me. We ran off to America, and Zuko became a hero. He said he needed to atone for the darkness that our family had committed. I was so proud of him, but your mother wasn't. She killed her own brother out of some twisted sense of loyalty to All for One." Deku sipped his tea, listening closely to the story. "That is when I faked my death. I was sure that I would be next, but then I saw you at the UA Sports Festival," said Iroh. "How did you know it was me?" asked Deku. Iroh leaned back, laughing. "I'd recognize that messy green hair anywhere," said Iroh. Deku smiled as Iroh poured him some tea. "I've come to help. I saw the pain you were in and the lack of control you have over your own power," said Iroh. Deku looked down at his hands. "I used blue flames just like her," said Deku. "Yes, you did. It's an incredible skill. Only the strongest fire users can harness blue flames. Even Endeavor can only use them for a fraction of a second," said Iroh. The corner of Deku's mouth curled up at the thought of being better than Endeavor at something. "Shall we begin?" asked Iroh. Deku nodded and Iroh smiled. "Get comfortable and think back. What caused that explosion of power?" asked Iroh. Deku closed his eyes and flashed back. The ice gripping his body felt like the hands of the dead pulling him to hell. "What do you feel?" asked Iroh. "Angry," said Deku. Why do you feel angry? Asked Iroh. Because I'm weak. I'm supposed to be strong, said Deku. Iroh. I can't be weak again. I refuse to be defenseless, said Deku. So it's not anger you're feeling, it's fear. What are you afraid of, Izuku? Asked Iroh. Deku's mind flashed back to his mother's cackling laughter and the searing pain of her flames dancing over his flesh. I'm scared of her. I can't escape, and I'm scared that even if I can, she'll just kill those I care about, said Deku. Deku squeezed his eyes shut as images of Bakugo and his parents, dead and burning, shot through his mind. What are you doing, Izuku? You can't escape. You are mine, said Azula. Deku's eyes snapped open and he jumped to his feet, panting. He was covered in sweat. She's not here. I'm safe, said Deku. Deku looked up, but Iroh was nowhere to be seen. Deku was confused until he felt a hand wrap around his throat from behind. Hello, sweetie, said Azula. Deku span around and fell backwards onto the floor, in shock at the horrific sight before him. Azula smiled down at him, whilst the bloody, burning bodies of his classmates covered the ground behind her. Doria, get back! I will stop her, said All Might. All Might landed with a smash, splinting the ground and shot towards Azula. Take a look, Izuku. I'll show you true strength, said Azula. Sparks surrounded Azula, and she unleashed a full-power blast of lightning on All Might. The massive hero held up his hand, blocking his face from the attack, but he was slowly being pushed back. This is the mighty symbol of peace? Asked Azula. All Might's back hit a wall, and he coughed up blood, reverting to a small form. Azula stopped her attack, looking down at the defeated hero. Izuku, is this the person you look up to? Asked Azula. All Might tried to punch her, but she caught his fist. No wonder you're so pathetic, said Azula. Azula turned her head, looking straight into Deku's eyes, as she thrust her flame-covered hand forward. Deku's eyes went wide as Azula threw All Might's still beating heart into his lap. Slowly she walked forward, blood still dripping from her hand, till she was right in front of Deku. She knelt down and ran the back of her bloody hand across his cheek. Come with me, baby. I'll get rid of that weakness, said Azula softly. Azula stood up and held out her hand for Deku to take. Tears were pouring out of Deku's eyes, but slowly he started to raise his hand. Don't do it, Deku, said Bakugo. Deku looked over and saw his best friend lying on the floor. One of his arms had been torn off and half his face was burnt. You're stronger than her, said Bakugo. Azula rolled her eyes and slowly began walking over to Bakugo. Really? Did your mother teach you nothing? It's rude to interrupt family matters, said Azula. Azula put her foot on the back of Bakugo's neck and slowly started adding pressure. Fight, Deku! Don't give up! Said Bakugo. There was a loud cracking sound as Azula broke Bakugo's neck. Now, where were we, Izuku? Said Azula. Deku looked up, tears covering his face. Slowly, Azula's cruel smile morphed and twisted until it became the reassuring face of Iroh. Are you okay, Izuku? Asked Iroh. Deku fell backwards, then frantically looked up at him. Everything was back to normal. What the hell was that? Asked Deku. That was a spirit journey. Take a deep breath. You will remember, said Iroh. Deku took a deep breath, and memories he didn't know he had flashed through his mind. Do you remember now? That was your 14th spirit journey. How did it go? Asked Iroh. No better than the others. Mum turns up, and I just watch. She kills everyone, said Deku. Was there anything different this time? Said Iroh. No. Wait, yes. She offered me a choice, said Deku. Iroh smirked. And what was that choice? Asked Iroh. She wanted me to join her. She said she could remove my weakness. Said Deku. I think we figured it out, said Iroh. Deku looked at him confused. This isn't just your pain. This is the programming Azula used on you. It's designed to keep you scared and weak. Tell me, do you really think your mother could kill All Might as easily as you described? Said Iroh. She is strong, but no, said Deku. Exactly. This isn't your mind at work, this is something else. This is playing on repeat in your mind, telling you over and over again that she is too strong for you, and it's useless to try, said Iroh. What do you think we should do? Asked Deku. We win. You left before you made a choice, so make one. Find out what happens, said Iroh. Deku nodded as he closed his eyes again. I'm disappointed in you, Azula. For one so strong, how could you be so stupid? He might not have shown it at birth, but Izuku has incredible potential. How dare you waste it? Thought Iroh. A few minutes later, Deku woke up, panting. What was that? Asked Deku. Just wait a moment. Take a deep breath, you will remember. The spirit journey requires immersion, so you can't remember previous journeys until it is complete, said Iroh. Deku panted, but slowly regained his senses. So, what did you choose? Said Iroh. I chose everything. When I took her hand, she pulled me to my feet. She then hugged me and said, Don't worry, you won't be weak anymore, just before she broke my neck, said Deku. Iroh's eyes went wide as Deku continued. I tried to run, but I couldn't get more than 5 meters before she shot me dead with a lightning bolt. I even tried doing nothing, but she just got annoyed and burnt me alive. There isn't any way to win, said Deku. Yes, there is. It's something I'm not surprised you haven't tried, said Iroh. Deku looked at Iroh confused. Listen, this thing is designed to keep you scared. It will draw on your darkest emotions and deepest fears to use them against you. Your own fear is giving it strength, so stop being afraid and fight back. You are stronger than you can possibly know, but you have to stop letting your fear hold you back. So, get in there and show her what you can do, said Iroh. Deku smiled as he closed his eyes again. When he opened them again, Iroh was gone, and the familiar scene played out before him. Welcome back, sweetie, said Azula. Hello, mother, said Deku. Deku gulped as he began gathering flames in his hand, but Azula shot forward, grabbing him by the throat. You would really attack your own mother? I'm disappointed, said Azula. Deku clenched his eyes shut until he heard the booming voice of All Might. Have no fear, young man. I am here, said All Might. Deku's eyes shot open again. He fired his attack straight into Azula's chest, throwing her backwards. You're right, All Might. I can't be afraid. I can't give her that power over me, said Deku. Slowly, Deku walked forward, slowly approaching Azula. Her smile grew when she saw the confidence on Deku's face. Are you really going to fight me, Izuku? But you're a weakling, asked Azula. I'm not weak anymore. I haven't been weak for a long time. Ever since you left me, I've been growing stronger than I ever would have been if I stayed under your thumb. I let you get inside my head once, but not anymore. Today I cast you out, said Deku. 2 orange jets of flames shot out of Deku's hands, throwing him straight towards Azula, who shot out a wall of blue flames to block his attack. That won't stop me, said Deku. Deku flicked his wrist, pulling the blue flames towards him, then wrapping them around his arm. Azula jumped backwards as Deku landed on the ground in front of her. I'm not weak anymore, said Deku. Using all of his strength, Deku fired the biggest blast of his life. A mixture of orange and blue flames shot forward. I did it, said Deku. Oh, did you? Asked Azula. Deku span around, seeing Azula smiling at him. Oh, Izuku, maybe you should be more careful where you shoot that thing, asked Azula. Azula pointed where Deku had just attacked, and saw Uraraka writhing in pain as Deku's flames ate away at her. You will kill her, Izuku. You'll kill them all, said Azula. Deku ran over and frantically pulled the flames off Uraraka's flailing body. This is all your fault, said Uraraka. Deku stared in shock as Uraraka closed her eyes and her body faded away into ash. No, said Deku. Suddenly a hand shot through the ash and grabbed Deku around the throat. Deku choked for air as he stared into the sunken eyes of All Might. The massive hero lifted him off the ground and began to squeeze his neck. You aren't a hero. A hero has to be strong and fearless. Midoriya, you're a disappointment, said All Might. All Might threw Deku a short distance away, then Deku felt a foot on his back. I can't believe I was friends with a weakling like you. I never should have wasted my time on you, said Bakugo. Deku screamed in rage, blasting Bakugo aside and sprinting towards Azula, but All Might punched him aside before he could even get close. Deku looked up, seeing all of his classmates, teachers and family staring before him. Why did I even let a weakling like you into my house? I should have left you abandoned and alone. That's what you deserved, said Mitsuki. Deku staggered to his feet, staring down the massive crowd. You aren't my friends. I'm not afraid of you, said Deku. Azula shot forward, grabbing Deku by the throat. No lying, Izuku. It's only natural. The weak fear the strong, said Azula. Azula pushed Deku's head against the wall. Deku flashed back to what Iroh said before. Do not pervert your flames with rage or fear. Fear is like life. You cannot let your fear control it, said Iroh. Deku's eyes snapped open. Before anyone could stop him, Deku unleashed a massive torrent of sapphire flames from his mouth straight into Azula's face, throwing her back. You stupid brat, said Azula. Azula looked up, half of her face burnt off. All of you, tear him apart, said Azula. The massive crowd launched themselves towards Deku, but they couldn't stop him. You are all born out of fear, but I'm not afraid of you anymore, said Deku. All Might swung his massive fist at Deku, but the moment he made contact, the massive hero disappeared into ash. You don't have any power here, Mother. This is my mind, and here I am king, said Deku. Deku shot forward, slamming Azula's head into the ground. The crowd of people all leapt on Deku, but they were all reduced to ash upon contact. Do you know fear now? Asked Deku. Deku looked down at the sight of his mother lying on the ground. Deku held out his hand, and blue flames grew in his palm. Goodbye, Mother, said Deku. Deku's eyes snapped open, and he was facing Iroh again. How did it go? Asked Iroh. Slowly, a smile formed across Deku's face, and he held out his hand, generating a small blue flame. She's gone. I'm free, said Deku. End of chapter 5.